I love a good story. That's what 95% of this channel is. Depending on your definition of good, anyways. Either reading the stories of others or making my own. I like when a story throws a punch, when it leaves some impact, when it makes changes to the world and they stick. So let's talk about live service. Get it? That's a juxtaposition. It is my genuine belief that live service games, like Destiny specifically, cannot fundamentally tell a good story, because stories are fundamentally limited things. Halo, Mass Effect, Dead Space, Modern Warfare, Gears of War, Arkham, Lord of the Rings, The Dark Knight, Spider-Man, Avengers 1 through 4. Mind the shift in quality of some of these examples. But they prove a point. Most of these series are held in high regards. Why? Well, because they tell a story that has a beginning, middle, and end. Imagine that. Classic storytelling. Live service games survive on constantly putting out new content, constantly selling you new DLC. And how is this achieved? This is the next evolution in
Insert games.
life. Things will never be the same. The fate of everything lies on you.
Generic protagonist.
It's up to you to save the world. Save the universe. You buy the DLC, like the sucker you are, play lazily hobbled together missions on a new location that, like a Kubrick movie, is all style and no substance. Some new enemy faction is introduced to change up gameplay for 5 minutes until you figure out the gimmick. The raid opens up, you go in, beat the boss, then get hints at the next biggest bad guy who is threatening the very fabric of reality. Just like the guy you killed 5 minutes ago. Rinse and repeat. Live service is not in the business of ending their own business by finishing games. What are they going to do? Make new IPs? Being creative is difficult. These writers are such tortured souls, really moving that boulder up the mountain. Typing things on a computer is hard. Actually, movies are suffering from this as well. Marvel is a prime example. It's a live service movie franchise. It has a very similar structure. Introduce the next bad guy as the biggest bad to ever bad guy, the heroes must push their limits and defeat him with the power of believing in themselves and quirky self-awareness. Then the next bad guy is hinted at in the post-credits scene as the next world, universe, or multiverse ender. This is the biggest step in the Marvel franchise. Things will never be the same again. Will our hero succeed? Will life ever be the same again? Except Marvel really messed up, given that the main villain, Thanos, was a universal level threat. So anything less than that feels tame. Oh no, a planet got blown up. It's not like 5 years ago. Half of all life in the universe got wiped out. I get it. I really do. Once you get that one successful product, you just want to make that over and over again. You want a stable source of revenue. But this is the creative field. You don't have that luxury. You want stable financials? Go into the food industry. Everybody's got to eat. Live service relies on the dopamine hit of fear of missing out, which is a really scummy business model when you think about it. If you don't play this DLC, you'll miss out on story elements that we're pretending are super important, and totally won't be meaningless when the next DLC comes out, and act like the previous one never happened.
We want to tell a story that makes you, the player, feel like all of that time that you invested, we saw you, and we want to give you the experience that you've been waiting for.
See, I was like you, an idiot. I too fell for the scams of live service DLC missing out fear. I truly thought that the next DLC in Destiny 2 was going to change the face of the franchise. I really thought that there were going to be serious story elements changed with the next Division 2 DLC. I believed in Harvey Dent. And, we know what happened there. Actually, this is a great analogy. One side, you have a nice chiseled jawline, the deep blues, and well-kept hair. This is the reveal trailer you get, the orchestral music, the scripted gameplay. On the other side is the deeper mess that is the game itself. The bones of the game are showing, the tendons of the code trying to keep everything together, and the beating eyes keeping an eye on your wallet, making sure it's being used to pay for microtransactions. Batman is like a stealth live service game like GTA or something, and Joker is like an indie game that probably just has a Bitcoin miner in it, and Gordon is, I guess, the establishment of video games. The metaphor stopped quickly. I'm going to be concentrating on Destiny for this live service issue. I also want to offer a solution that no one will listen to because, 1, I'm a relatively small channel, and 2, it would require rebooting the entire franchise back to square one. Destiny has no future. It has no endpoint. Remember when The Final Shape, the DLC with final in its name,
it's finally confronted the Traveler
and was supposed to be the biggest thread to be pulled in the plot of Destiny? So much of the story was leading up to this point. The literal avatar of the darkness was coming up to our front doorstep. The thing that the Traveler was running from for eons untold finally caught up to it. This DLC was built up like it was the endgame of Destiny as a whole. And that's exactly what they wanted you to think.
The end of the world, if we fail.
They wanted you to feel that fear of missing out, that you need to play this DLC to see what kind of literal earth-shattering events were going to shake the fundamentals of the franchise. Yet, here we are, a new DLC, and some guy with glasses. Do they not have LASIK in the future? The Final Shape is the prime example of how creatively and somewhat morally bankrupt not only current Bungie, but the entire gaming industry has become. They will advertise a DLC as if it's the final installment, that everything has been leading up to this point.
It's finally confronted the Traveler.
Then, once you're done, it turns out that it was just another villain in a long list of interchangeable bad guys. I know that this is literally the only IP that Bungie has running right now that it can still technically profit off of. Destiny 1, nearly all my friends played. I would specifically get on with them to do the raids. Destiny 2, not so much, but the community was still present enough that you could easily find LFG groups. These days, Destiny is about as relevant as that indie horror game that blew up for a week. Take your pick. The reason Destiny lost its relevancy in the gaming world is because it lost its importance as a game. The story it tells is not worth anyone's time. It holds no significant developments anymore. It doesn't do anything of note. You log on, shoot through filler enemies, melt the strike boss in a few hits, then do that over and over again for a few hours. This was happening as early as Rise of Iron. Taken King actually expanded Destiny into something that had real weight to it, real interest. But then after that massive content drought, we get Rise of Iron. Wow.
Nanomachine, son!
Not like we just fought a being that can literally warp reality and corrupt entire enemy races for its own army. Everything after that just became less and less important. Forsaken tried to be the Taken King of Destiny 2, tried to make impactful storytelling, like Cayde's death. But given how little other characters are even in Destiny to begin with, Cayde's death, to me, honestly felt empty. Beyond Light tried to have some kind of edgy idea to it. What if we harness the darkness? You mean the bad stuff? And all it did was introduce the pyramid ships, really. Lightfall was more build-up, with pointless areas, subclasses, and plot. Then the Final Shape. This was the culmination of everything Destiny had built up to. And yet, the game was still going. What? I thought this was the culmination of everything Destiny had built up to. What else is there? Why would I care about anything that comes after this? I mean, I didn't even care about this. Destiny is a game that started off with intrigue and mystery, but thanks to poor handling of writing, it just became a string you along for the next DLC scam. Now that I've talked about what my issue with Destiny is, let's see if I can come up with something that I would actually want to fork out money for. Let's get this out of the way. I'm a Halo nerd. The Bungie games. To say that I had a bias going into Destiny is an understatement. Destiny 1 was flawed, but good lord did it have character. I ran the Taken King raid so many times, I could do it with my hands tied behind my back, half asleep. In fact, I did run it half asleep once. I remember getting the Void subclass for Hunters finally. Orbs for days, until they ripped that away from us. Like they did everything else fun the Hunters had. Destiny 1, a mostly generic base game story of the darkness is the big bad evil thing that you have to sort of destroy, not really. It was the Taken King that brought Destiny into its heyday. Of course, the sheer content drought after that didn't help the game any, but we made do. Destiny had the chance with its DLC to not only repair the problems of the base game, in terms of story, but make it go places it should have. But this is a video about fixing Destiny, not fondling its balls. Because it has none. How do we take all of this and fix it? We don't. Not unless we were to scrap everything and start over. Given that this is a video about what ifs, well, that's exactly what we're going to do. Destiny 1 through 2 and all their DLCs are getting nuked from orbit. Not everything is getting redone, but a whole lot is getting reworked. We can keep the Hunter, Meathead, Titans, and Warlock classes. But this time, we need true distinction. We need these classes to fulfill roles that they ultimately really don't anymore. Literally, the only true difference between the three is that Hunters have the objectively better jump. In this rework, each class will have strengths and weaknesses that are complemented by the other two. Hunters will be the glass cannons, massive damage output but easily killed if taken on directly. Titans will have less damage output, but can take a licking and keep on ticking. Warlocks will provide healing that will keep Hunters in the fight, and damage buffs that will make Titans more useful. Warlocks themselves will be closer to Hunters in terms of damage resistance, but it's in their light gifted abilities where their real utility shines. Without a Warlock on your team, Hunters will see that respawn timer a lot more often. Titans will feel like they're shooting tampons out of their guns. Hunter supers would largely be the same, especially Golden Gun and the Void Arrow. Personally, I think Arc should be changed to a more speed-based super, giving Hunters the ability to bolt from enemy to enemy at lightning speeds, dealing smaller amounts of damage for each hit, but doing it so quickly it disorients enemies, allowing for the team to recover or get ready for their own attack. I don't really give two shits about Stasis, Strand, or Prism, so they're not going to get covered. Warlocks get to keep their nukes, Kamea Blast, Palpatine Lightning, and Radiance. This will encourage people to continue playing Warlocks despite their reduced emphasis on aggressive play. Titans. The bubble is fine, and in fact will be buffed. Not only is it impenetrable as it usually is, it can't be entered by anyone who isn't a part of the Titans team. This allows everyone to have a place of refuge, breathing room, plan their next step. Solar hammers can stay so the more aggressive Titans can get that dopamine fix of damage output, but the panic slam is gone, replaced by a mobile shield, one that allows for aggressive pushes. This shield can be fired through by allies, but allows weakened enemy fire to pass through it. Imagine Reinhardt's shield from Overwatch, but doesn't block all damage. Now, in PvP, damage and resistance is equalized across the classes. This way no one is doing or taking more damage than anyone else. Primary weapons will be brought to a more equalized point, allowing things like aim and recoil control to decide battles, not who's abusing the meta more. Special weapons will be far more powerful, allowing for 1 to 2 shot kills, but ammo is uncommon. Heavy weapons will be crowd cleaners, but ammo will be very rare, like it already is. PvE is where weapons will get to shine the most. And before the tryhards cry about not being able to one-tap everyone with some OP primary, just remember, eat shit. And this is a fictional change anyways. Bungie has no plans of steering into a fair and balanced direction. This portion of the video is going to be a bit less fleshed out due to the fact that I'm trying to dictate dialogue changes for a game that has, at the very least, several thousand lines of voice work. Destiny is suffering from MCU-itis. Every character has to either be an oblivious idiot or a sarcastic one-liner. I know Destiny is written by a bunch of Redditors, so this is par the course.
I cried quite a few times doing those scripts.
In this rewrite, 1. Cayde will be less of an idiot and more of a hotshot with some brains. 2. Zavala will retain his stoic personality, but allow for some more easygoing elements. 3. Ikora will keep her soft-spoken side and steer into it. In fact, we're going to axe the speaker and give Ikora a double job of also being the speaker for the Traveler too. Ghost is going to shut up.
I would...
This should lead us right to the grave.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Instead, the Guardian is going to get to speak a lot more. There's no reason why he or she doesn't. The Guardian is the one dealing with all the shit anyways. I want to hear more from them than the Boy Scout living in your backpack. The quippy dialogue has got to go. Humor is one thing. Every moment being ruined by a joke that makes me want to rip my teeth out? Stop it. Learn how to make a dramatic scene without accenting it with quips or puns or awkward humor.
With its dying breath, the Traveler created ghosts to open doors.
I feel so much safer with you warlocks doing, whatever you do.
You can't fight when you're that tense, Guardian. What's wrong with you? Relax. Relax more. I said relax!
A power box for an underground security system. I guess it wasn't enough to protect against the collapse, and the Fallen, and the Hive, and the Taken, and the Red Legion, but I bet it worked pretty well against bears.
Rasputin predicted you'd return. Just kidding.
Eat spicy goodness? Like a bouse.
Pineapples? What a weird idea for a fruit.
Why do you warlocks like to float around everywhere? You can jump sometimes, you know.
Even broken Vex gates are pretty interesting. This one is emitting radio waves. I can almost... Okay, somehow the Vex are listening to classic rock from the Golden Age. They're death robots with good taste in music.
The suspense is killing me. Oh wait, that's the Vex.
They're behind me, aren't they?
Zavala has a plan. He needs you, Cayde.
Yes, well, Zavala always says he has a plan, but sometimes he just... Wait. Zavala said he needs me? As in you heard those exact words coming out of Zavala's mouth?
Yes, we did.
Please tell me you recorded it!
Scavenging vultures, those Fallen. Always turn up when you don't want them. Kinda like a warlock when you're...
Go on.
Nothing. No. I'm done. Mobilizing fire team for Operation... Baby Dog? The fire team, Baby Dog. The Taken are polluting the EDZ. We need to determine the source of... I'm sorry, I can't.
Giant guns! You got us a tank?
You got them a tank? How come I never got a tank? So, Zavala, I gotta ask you something. When you told our Guardian friend here, and I quote, I need Cayde, did you, by any chance, happen to maybe cry? Holiday, what's your status? Let the record show. No denial.
Listen, don't ask me how this happened. I don't have time to explain what I don't have time to understand.
Whoa, wait, I'm not ready. I had a whole thing for this song guy. I had charts and pictures. You know what? One time, I get it all that... Jeez, forget it. I'm so glad I can hear myself in the feed again. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You're welcome.
Captain, Ghost, I want to thank you again for doing this. I'm sure the damage feels worse than it is.
Ah, of course.
That's how she's melting.
I just move shit with my mind.
Know that I've never been prouder to be part of your fire team.
If we have to die, at least we'll die in the shadow of the Traveler, old friend.
We're about to die and you're still making speeches?
I cried quite a few times doing those scripts.
I feel like we had a moment here. But then you kept standing there, and then the moment went on too long, and now, yeah, it's gone.
If you lose here, I'll tell you what you did wrong. You didn't throw enough grenades. You should be throwing grenades as I say this.
Hey, nice one, failsafe. The Fallen can't get to us now. That's right, though. They can't, right? Get to us.
I finally have someone to talk to about Crow's stupid haircut.
I like Crow's haircut. Thanks, Reddit!
On missions, I want dialogue to be minimized, to the point, and about the mission. Comms chatter is annoying as all hell. Granted, that's a symptom of the game's shitty dialogue, but still. Let me get immersed in the action without Ghost, Cade, or the planetary mission giver making
You got them a tank? How come I never got a tank?
tear jokes while I'm fighting for my damn life. At the start, halfway point, and end, they can talk. But even then, just a nice job or a mission complete, see you back at the tower, is all I need. Lastly, can someone at Bungie tell the writers that the first thing they write down probably isn't the best version of that line they could make?
If the Vex succeed, it's the end of everything.
Without me, there's no coming back.
If I don't stop the Vex, there won't be anything to come back to.
Why, thank you, college graduate that writes like a 7th grader. Let's talk like we aren't trying to be Lord of the Rings. I love that trilogy, but that dialogue works for that setting, not this. Why can't we get more Halo scenes, for instance?
A grave marker has you in its sights. You barely survived a small contamination.
And you, shipmaster, just glassed half a continent. Maybe the flood isn't all I should be worried about.
One single flood spore can destroy a species. Were it not for the Arbiter's Council, I would have glassed your entire planet.
I, an emotionally stable person, can in fact watch a serious moment without having a panic attack because there wasn't a joke to relieve the tension. That would be like,
after I'm through with truth.
Don't make a girl a promise if you know you can't keep it.
You don't know me. My past. My future. You get it? I referenced the next game's launch trailer, Cortana. References. I said the things you said in the trailer. Gods, demons, swords, shields, this is the way the world ends. This is a big one. Destiny was in this really unique position where it could explore vast and strange concepts, and with the right dialogue, tone, and character delivery, we could have easily have had the next Warhammer, the next Dead Space, the next Dark Souls, the next Half-Life 2, the next Halo. If Destiny handled the otherworldly concepts that were lying deep in the lore with a much more interesting and just below the surface attention, Destiny could have easily have been one of the most interesting games ever made. But instead, they opted for in-your-face action scenes that held no value other than shoot the glowing thing that makes the next area open up. There are two pieces of Destiny lore that I think, if these were talked about or even shown in some way or form, could have propelled the story to heights previously unreached. Venus, the Ishtar Collective. During the collapse, it was described that a rift in space opened up above the planet, and what was witnessed by those present was so strange and disturbing that they committed suicide shortly afterwards. Of course, our characters witnessing something similar would arguably drive them to the same fate, game's over. Alternatively, there could be mentions of it, and pieces of data that you collect that give hints as to what happened, possibly what they saw. The other piece of lore, which unfortunately is not what happened, but it would have made the story a lot more interesting. It was theorized back in the day that the damage to the underside of the Traveler was caused by Rasputin. It was thought that the Traveler was going to leave mankind as the darkness came to our doorstep, like it had left the Fallen and untold numbers of other races. However, to keep it there, Rasputin fired his weapons at the Traveler, damaging it, and forcing it to stay on Earth and create a countermeasure to the encroaching darkness. Like I said, This theory, as far as I know, is officially debunked. But damn do I love that idea. It puts into question the Traveler and makes Rasputin a very, very misunderstood entity in the Destiny universe. I love the idea that Rasputin did the unthinkable, made himself look like the villain in order to help save humanity in the long run.
I killed those people. That's what I can be.
No, you can't. You're not.
I'm whatever Gotham needs me to be.
On top of this, some of the lore files of Rasputin documenting the coming darkness, unable to even quantify what's happening. You know me. My past. My future. I'm a huge sucker for these cosmic ideas. Lovecraft is knocking on the door. Rub like 2 or 3 brain cells together and explore these dimension-breaking ideas. Shine some light into these physics-defying concepts. Give the paracasual tomfoolery its time in the soul. Instead of me just running to area, shooting enemy until barrier drops, then doing some 3D platforming, slow the game down. Put us in one of those classic Bungie environments with monolithic structures in the skybox. Let us stand at the edge of existence and soak in the unreality of it all. Okay, maybe not that. I want to feel weak in the knees, like how you feel when you're standing on a roof and look up at the sky. Even though you have stable footing, the fact that you can't see the floor around you, it feels like you could tip over, fall. I want to feel that same sense, despite the fact that I'm comfortably sitting in my chair while developing a blood clot in my thighs. I want to stand in the middle of space, folding in on itself while I watch constructs millions of miles long fly overhead. I want to fall through the empty void, only flashes of light from stray photons hitting my eyes, while a creature of impossible existence takes notice of me. I want the Guardian to be the spearhead into the unknown, the unknowable, and the unthinkable. I want the Guardian to be the rock skipped across the lake of the universe, getting taste of just how vast the struggle between light and dark is. Eventually, that rock sinks into the water and gets to see just how deep this ocean is. That could have been Destiny. This could have been the game where science fiction meets the supernatural, and the line between them is blurred. Instead, we got Avengers in space. Except Avengers has been to space. Shit. Everyone is throwing quips at each other and sighing in annoyance at the other characters being oblivious to their cringy nature. The Guardians are cape shit. The Guardians of the Galaxy, if you will. Despite the fact that humanity is literally on extinction's doorsteps, we're fighting at least 6 enemy fronts. Everyone acts like it's just another day at the office. Which I suppose is sorta natural, since they've been dealing with it for so long, but as a writer, and more importantly, as someone who just wants to enjoy good storytelling, I can't get myself invested in what's happening. The stakes never really feel that high because I know the serious moments are going to be ruined by emotionally stunted dialogue. I know that this DLC is going to ultimately accomplish nothing. It will just introduce a new subclass, enemy faction, and main villain that will string us along into the next half-baked DLC, which will bring a new subclass, enemy faction, and main villain. No one can tell a story with a proper ending anymore, lest they have to make a new IP, instead of milking the gullible fanbase of the current game. I find myself half caring about the story of Destiny, given how much time I sank into it, how much I used to give a shit about it. But these days, I just remind myself that as much as Bungie says,
We want to tell a story that makes you, the player, feel like all of that time that you invested, we saw you, and we want to give you the experience that you've been waiting for.
It's finally confronted the Traveler, and here we are, thorns in its side, a blip on its radar, trying to make a difference.
what it actually is just another injection of dopamine. Busy work. Content to keep the player count up. If Bungie could, I bet they would sell $40 battle passes that literally do nothing but give you in-game currencies you can obtain for free. Oh, that's exactly what they're doing. The campaign DLC you get along with it is only there to justify the price. Okay, the last part of this video, story. As stated in the previous section, this setting is perfect for something more gritty. We could have some genre-defining moments in this game, but in order to do that, the writers have to actually have a backbone in order to write things that cause permanent changes. Instead, we literally get comic book level writing where characters that die just end up coming back through contrived plot devices, so that they can do it all over again to entice fans to buy more DLC. You remember when that Drifter plotline was made? Choose him or the Vanguard, and it ultimately resulted in nothing? That's a prime example of,
we want to tell a story that makes you, the player, feel like all of that time that you invested, we saw you, and we want to give you the experience that you've been waiting for.
And then,
oh, that's right. If we make any permanent changes, we have to stay consistent with ourselves, and that's hard.
and nothing is ever accomplished. One thing about Destiny I cannot stand is when a location is hyped up, like Europa or Neptune. They're supposed to be lost to the collapse. Yet, when we go to them, they're mostly fine. Europa under the surface is still entirely functional and the state of the art. Neptune, however, actually actively pisses me off. Once again, a human civilization that's supposed to be lost to the collapse for hundreds of years. But when we get there, not only does it top the last city in terms of infrastructure upkeep, it also has Striders, I think that's what they're called, that are nearly equivalent to Guardians. You know, Guardians, the literal salvation of humanity, the soldiers the Traveler created in an act of desperation, beings of untold power levels that rival that of literal gods. Yeah, apparently the Cloud Surfer dude bros can also take on the same enemies that have not only been challenging the Guardians for years, but also have been killing Guardians for years. Holy shit, what a joke. Alright, let me actually get to fixing this heaping mess. So to start, Rasputin attacking the Traveler to keep him from abandoning humanity is now canon, but this wouldn't be discovered until sometime later in the game. We're revived by Ghost, how we are in Destiny 1, awoken in a world we're unfamiliar with. Of course, we fight our way through the Cosmodrome and get to the last city. However, this is where we see our first departure. Instead of just becoming the Vanguard's attack dog, the Guardian themselves are curious about who and what they are. During your meetup with the Vanguard heads, a cutscene has Zavala giving the Guardian the rundown, that they are the protectors of humanity. The Guardian would ask what they even are. Ghost would interject, saying that the Guardians are resurrected from those who died during the collapse. This would prompt the Guardian to ask who they were before. Zavala cuts back in, voicing that they shouldn't bother with searching for their past. The enemies they're dealing with in the present are ever encroaching, and they can't afford Guardians focusing their attention on other things. However, this is where some of the character change to Zavala would shine through. He sympathizes with the Guardian, understanding how jarring this must be, thrust into a strange, desecrated world. No idea who you are, why you're here, or if you're even capable of the job you now have. He puts a hand on their shoulder, reassuring them that the Vanguard is more than just a faceless military. They're the backbone of humanity. He encourages them to talk with Ikora, that she'll have more answers for the Guardian, and if needed, someone to listen to their troubles. This is where we would find out that not only is Ikora the Warlock Vanguard, but doubles as the speaker as well. It quickly becomes apparent that she is a lot more in tune with the emotional troubles of not only the Guardians, but the whole city. The Guardian once again asks about searching for their previous life. Ikora shares Zavala's views on this. However, she understands that no matter how much they might disapprove of the Guardians searching for their old existence, their curiosity will overpower this. She only asks that if we're needed, we prioritize the Vanguard's struggles over our own. This would serve as a secondary story for the game. While we're dealing with the big issues at hand, there's a smaller, more personal story being explored. Who we were before the collapse. As the game progresses, Ghost explains further as to how they select who they resurrect. He explains that the bodies they search have a sort of aura to them, one that has a vague feel of who the person used to be. Ghost tells us that our aura was that of someone of resolve, or a stubbornness to not give up. This would be a nod to the idea that in-game we replay missions a lot, respawn constantly, and keep restarting checkpoints. This dialogue would also be dependent on what class you're playing. If you are a hunter, he notes the aura had a sharpness to it, but a sense of solitude as well, alluding to the hunter's strive for piercing shots and affinity for blades, and their tendencies to be lone wolves. For Titans, the aura was all-encompassing, like they were protected from all danger, alluding to the Titans being defenders. For Warlocks, the aura felt serene and had a calm flow to it, alluding to Warlocks having a larger focus on their abilities, rather than outside weapons and armor. The main villain of Destiny 1 would not be the Heart of the Darkness, since that ultimately did nothing. It would still be the Vex, since the Vex are my favorite enemy race in the game. It would be building up to defeating one of their Nexus minds, one that is heavily intertwined with the darkness. Now, much like the Taken King, it would be the raid where we actually defeat them. The Vault of Glass stays because that's one of the best pieces of content this game ever had. Some post-endgame content would hint at the Taken King. Deep satellite systems are picking up a strange signature, Hive in origin, but with some kind of fluctuation to it that they've never seen before. Now, while all the main story is taking place, the Guardian is taking side steps to find out who they used to be. This is where the RPG elements of this game could actually come into play. There could be several missions where, as you discover more about your past life, you get to choose what you discover about yourself, where you used to live, what you did as a job, so on and so forth. At the end of this side story, you finally get to the bottom of who you were, and you get to choose a lot of things about it to build a description of yourself, and this would be attached to your profile. There's no rewards for any of this, other than sheer player customization and emotional attachment to their character. As the Guardian looks over their information, it would be a quiet moment, maybe a little bit of piano in the background. The moment would sit, Ghost silent, letting the Guardian have this time to themselves. Then the comms disrupt the moment. The Vanguards are calling for reinforcements. Ghost chimes in, stating that he's downloaded everything from the database, and you'll be able to see it at any time you want to. The Guardian, satisfied, leaves the room, heading for battle. At the end, the Guardian would approach Zavala, telling him that they discovered who they were, detailing some of it to him. At first, Zavala looks out to the Traveler, with a hint of disappointment, fearing that this has only distracted us from the issues at hand. However, the Guardian states that it's only given them more resolve to help the Vanguard. Zavala remains silent, turning around to the Guardian. He places his hand on their shoulder again, but now with a look of confidence. He gives them a simple nod. What the Guardian says to Zavala in this cutscene would depend on some of the options you would choose. Past the main campaign, the Guardian's personal story should not come into play. I despise it when main character syndrome has to affect every facet of the story. As it turns out, our Guardian, when they were a normal human being during the Golden Age, actually dreamt about Oryx, but thought it was simply a nightmare. No, after the campaign, we let the story at hand unfold. That's all I got for this video. Hope you enjoyed me getting all my complaints and gripes about Destiny out of the way, and how vile the live service system is.